minute. We call the city council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining.
Here.
Here.
Excused.
Here.
Whitman. Here. Echoangeli.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here. I'd ask we all please stand for the invocation. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Guide our working together. Give us wisdom to make the right decisions, your understanding to listen to each other, and your compassion to promote the peace and welfare of the residents of this community.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item, please.
The first item would be any amendments to the agenda.
Thank you. I want to see Mr. Pastou because I know he has some comments, and then I'll wait for council's action from that. Mr. Pastou?
Thank you, Your Honor. There's two items I'm requesting council action in amending the agenda. After the citizens' comment on item 13, I would ask the City Council go into closed session to discuss land acquisition. And then the other item is under the consent agenda. I would ask that City Council withdraw item 2330 for tonight's meeting.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Vining.
I'd like to make a motion that we amend the agenda to add a executive closed session for the purpose of property acquisition, and at the request of the city manager that we remove item 2330 from the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilwoman Vining, supported by Councilwoman Germaini, as stated. Any further comments from the council?
I have just one question. So where are we putting the adjournment into closed session?
After citizens' comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining.
Yes.
Germaini.
Yes.
Lamore. Sorry. Felder.
Yes.
Whitman.
Yes.
Echoangeli.
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is a citizen comments not related to an agenda item.
Thank you. Are any comments from those present here this evening not related to an agenda item? Any comments from those present here this evening? And there'll be an opportunity at the end of the meeting as well. Seeing none, clerk, next item, please.
The next item is a presentation, item 2334, code presentation, River Raisin Legacy Project Area of Concern mini documentary.
Thank you, Mr. Pastou, and I know that Mr. Leroy's here too.
Yeah, Your Honor, if I don't know if Barry or Brian, Mr. Egan, would like to come to the podium and give an overview before showing the mini documentary.
Chairman Egan.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, as you know, in the last several decades, the River Raisin has been an area of concern in the city of Monroe, and many citizens have worked tirelessly to try to delist the River Raisin as an area of concern. In the last several years, actually since around 2010, the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, a federal agency or a federal program, has enabled resources to come to areas of concern. The Public Advisory Council for the area of concern is nested under the Commission on the Environment, as you may know. In the last several years, we've received many PAC support grants to do many projects and activities, a lot of outreach programs, such as our River Raisin Legacy Project, brochure, several other educational outreach programs. We've also used that money to leverage remediation of sediments, dam removals, fish passages, and a host of other activities, including river raisin cleanups. One of the things that we've been trying to do over the last several years is build up a cache of digital assets, photographs, video footage, aerial photography that we could have as a cache for the city to use, the Commission on the Environment to use as well. Building up to, which we're going to show today, a mini documentary. This started out as sort of an expanded, if you will, a public advisory, or excuse me, a mini documentary, a public service announcement, but it's sort of expanded into a larger story that we'd like to tell. As Barry Leroy had commented earlier, this is a very positive statement about the city's hard work in a federally identified issue here. So this was a team effort a Commission on the Environment production. Any errors or omissions in this are mine entirely. We have here today too Ike Owens from the Commission on.
Could you have the commissioner stand as
Yes.
Please stand.
Ike
Those that are
Owens,
commissioners on the environment.
Barry
Members.
Leroy, Ed Kane, Richard Micka in the back, and of course, Councilman Andrew Felder.
Thank you.
One of the reasons I wanted to present this, or we wanted to present this very quickly, is the EPA, the Office of the Great Lakes, and the Michigan DNR have all signed off on this, and in their words, they love it. John Allen, the director of the Office of the Great Lakes, is leaving office March 9th. Governor Whitmer has appointed a new director, but she asked him to stay on. She has some big shoes to fill in him. He requested that we get this wrapped up because in the last week of his office, he would like to share this with his network. So we're bringing it to you for the final sort of approval stage so we can get this in his hands. So if there are any further questions or comments, we'll present this.
Proceed. Thank you.
For hundreds of years, the Potawatomi, who once thrived here, celebrated her clean and bountiful waters as a source of life, food, and beauty. They called it Numasapi. The French settlers who lived and traded along her banks for centuries gave her the name Rivière Raison. The battle cry, "Remember the Raisin," echoed from her banks in 1813, inspiring victory in the War of 1812, a site that today is the River Raisin National Battlefield Park. Steeped in history and with Michigan's only port on Lake Erie, the River Raisin has supported industry, commerce, and a way of life for centuries. Yet with the passing of time, dilution became the solution to pollution, and this once vital waterway fell victim to neglect, contamination, and human-made demise.
Back before 80 years, 100 years ago, all of the waste from the entire community went to the River Raisin. There were no dams. It just went here, and in the summertime, in August, the stream goes extremely low. So you had streams coming out from the community that would come out, and there would be these little cesspools. In the newspaper, it had big articles, well, it's summer, the river stinks again. So what they decided to do was, let's put a new wastewater treatment plant in. Well, because of the rock table that we've got, you can't just run all the sewage from the north side. You can't dig a trench and have it go to the south side and down to the plant. So they put tiles on the riverbed and they built dams above the tiles. That allowed all of the wastewater to flow on over to this side into a big interceptor and go down and get treated at the wastewater plant. However, what that also did is it held all the water back and made it stagnant. It wasn't free flowing like we see here. We did something to improve on one portion of the environment, but we hurt another area of the environment.
And that's why we raised a generation of children with their parents, mothers and fathers telling them, don't go there, don't go near the water. This story repeats itself in many, many places. That's why Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, a program of that magnitude, is so critical, because this is not the only place where that happened.
The Raisin was in peril. Years of negligence had burgeoned its sediment to the brink of uninhabitability. Fish and wildlife were simply dying, and by the late 1980s, the River Raisin was listed as a national area of concern by the United States EPA.
So an area of concern was initially designated back in 1987. On the U.S. side of the border, originally there were 31 areas of concern. Since then, 4 have been delisted, so we now have 27 areas of concern.
And the River Raisin being one. And each one of these areas of concern had beneficial uses that were impaired. They were contaminated with PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, or DNAPL, dense non-aqueous phase liquid. The stuff likes to sink down, and it has an affinity for clay, and it hangs onto the clay. So the only way you can get rid of it is to dig out the clay.
PCBs were found in the lower 3-4 miles of the river, impacting wildlife, fish, and potentially impacting humans as well who eat the fish.
What we did over 100 years and where chemicals and pollution went, it still resides in our sediment. It doesn't clear out of the system quickly or easily on its own.
We have storms that will come up, will churn up the bottom sediments, and the contamination can potentially move into the lake. And where you can make an impact in cleaning up the contamination is in the rivers. Once it gets into the lake, it pretty much disperses, and it's very hard to get a handle on from a remediation or a cleanup standpoint.
And that's why we're working on this restoration of the River Raisin. It's a part of a larger whole, part of an international wildlife refuge.
So the two big issues in this community were reconnecting the river, allowing that flow, the rock ramps, habitat improvements, and the other was removing chemicals, toxics.
Cleaning up the contaminated sediments. I think we all knew we had to remove the PCBs. We had to do a major cleanup.
We had to remove those beneficial use impairments. Out of the 14 that they established through the International Joint Commission, we had 9 that were bad here. Now we're down to 5 of them to get rid of by monitoring. We've done all of the management actions already. There's a thing they call a CAMU, C-A-M-U. It's a Corrective Action Management Unit. We couldn't take all of the dredgings that we took out of the river anyplace else. Nobody wanted them, so we had to take care of it ourselves here. We had to dig down, put in a bentonite liner, which is heavy clay, and then put this material into something like cement and put those blocks in there and cover them over. And they make sure that there's no leachate coming out of those corrective action management units. And that was all done by the Environmental Protection Agency, Region 5.
Then what else can we do? How else can we help restore some of the degraded habitat?
We've been able to eliminate a number of dams here, either through structural work or totally removing them. We've been able to open up the river all the way to Dundee.
Once we opened it up and took out the dams that we could and made fishways around the dams that we can't, then the fish were able to come back and the birds came back. It's not unusual to see eagles flying up and down right through here, and we've had peregrine falcon and just all types of ducks and geese just all over.
When I was a kid, I didn't see eagles, I didn't see lotus. They were always there, but because of the bad water quality and other things, they just didn't propagate. They've come back tremendously. Suddenly we see the eagles coming back, and you've seen them up here at the battlefield.
The eagles being back is symbolic. It's a sign of the hard work that we've done over 30 to 50 years to reconnect ourselves and understand that what we did had serious consequences. But it also reminds us that we can undo that.
Like never before in our lifetime, the fish, wildlife, and the people who live here are once again thriving in the River Raisin.
What it's telling you is we're getting closer and closer to having a healthy river, one where people feel very comfortable eating the fish that come out of the river. People will feel comfortable wading in that river, kayaking in that river, living next to the river, and they're seeing it as a resource.
As this river heals, as we remove the toxics, as we allow invertebrates to come into this system. So it's not just about the fish, it's also about what fish eat. Invertebrates don't live well in the sediments where there's contamination. Fish don't live well where there's nothing to eat.
We see the fish populations coming back. I mean, there's fish now, they're catching pike all the way up near the Dundee Dam, right? And people are like, yeah, we haven't done that in forever. So we are on a trajectory to get there.
Delisting is only a waypoint. Delisting is not an endpoint. The river will always take care. The river will always take stewardship. People that care for the river will tend the river. People that tend the river will make sure it doesn't get back to where it was before.
With a shared passion for revitalizing this life-giving resource, relentless citizens of Monroe, Michigan worked hand in hand with the EPA, Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, Michigan Office of the Great Lakes, Michigan DNR, and other partners. Together with their leadership and resources, our river is once again thriving.
The community in Monroe, the Public Advisory Committee in Monroe was hugely impactful in how we moved ahead with the cleanup here in the River Raisin. These are multi-million-dollar projects, and we have to have the support of the community, and the River Raisin community did that, and that's really a testament to the people here.
And I was just in awe and amazed and inspired by what a small group of local citizens with a passion for the river and for the lake, what they could do together to advance restoration activities. And it's just a very inspiring story and a very unique situation that can be modeled in other places around the Great Lakes.
There are other communities that would give their eye teeth to have a river just like the River Raisin running through the middle of their community. One thing I'd like to see is us turn some of our parks around so that we have better access to the river. Just like some of the streetscape and the riverscape projects that we've done here, got a great start going. We can't let it stop there.
You can't put a price tag on being able to use a resource like we have here. And sometimes when people say, hey, you know, this costs too much money, they forget what things were like in the 60s and 70s when rivers were catching on fire, right? So, you know, it has been decades to make the progress that we've made, but it's wonderful to see the progress that has been made on this river.
And now we're beginning to look at the river as something that we can market. Before, it was hard to market it because nobody could go there fishing, you couldn't eat the fish, and you couldn't swim in it, you couldn't do anything, but now it's cleaner. In our last river cleanup, we had a record number of people show up to help us clean the river up, and I thought that was so remarkable. It was fabulous.
The citizens of this community are the stewards of the river, and it's very important to get our young generation out and engaged so that they're connecting with it, and then when these issues come up, they're able to have a good perspective on what things should be. It's not just about us, it's not just about this community, it's about our connectedness to the larger Great Lakes region and our responsibility for the largest freshwater resource in the world.
Getting back to, you know, the whole spiritual aspect of what the Great Lakes can be, and the people using that resource and the future generations being able to use that resource, I mean, it feeds my soul. There's no other way to put that.
The perseverance of these partners in restoration has given new meaning to the battle cry, "Remember the Raisin."
We forgot Millward Boudry. He's in the back booth. Yeah. He's also on the Commission on the Environment. I just wanted to point out too that we did reach out with other partners like the Port, Monroe County, with the Historical Museum, the River Raisin National Battlefield as well. So we're hoping that this can be a launch pad to a full documentary that we can share on Michigan PBS, and maybe it's a national story as well. So.
Thanks, Brian. I don't know if there's any questions from council, but great job. It's wonderful. And really nice. I just want to say thank you to the Commission on the Environment and all the members, those that are here and those that, you know, couldn't make it this evening, but we know they're here in their meetings and they're here doing their diligence, and of course our council liaison as well. And yeah, I remember Mildred sitting back there too. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. See nothing further here on this. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is under council action. Item 2332, Cultivate Community Special Event and Co-Sponsorship.
Thank you. Mr. Pastu, if there's an introduction or comments or...
Yep, thank you, Your Honor. We had received a special event request for the second annual Neighborhood Beautification Program, and just scheduled for May 18th. As we reviewed it, there was a couple of requests that we probably needed to bring forward to City Council, but I do recall all of the enthusiasm and excitement after last year's event, and I thought, well, I'll put that on there for an effort to promote it, but also ask that council authorize us to be a co-sponsor so we can participate in some of the items requested with the event organizers.
Very good.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we approve the second annual Cultivate Community event and designate the city as a co-sponsor for the event for May 18th.
Support. Motion by Councilman Icolani, supported by Councilman Felder on item 2332. Recommendation for the Cultivate Community. special event and co-sponsorship. Other comments from council? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining?
Yes.
Germaine?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Igwangeli?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is item 2333, MCOP contract for services.
Thank you, Mr. Pastu, and I know that the MCOP, the director, is here as well, so I'll let you do that introduction and information, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. City administration is recommending that we enter into an agreement with Monroe County Opportunity Program to administer our fixed program, which is the program for improvements to qualified low-income residents for improvements to their home. Given that our longtime planner had taken another employment opportunity, we thought this is a fairly specialized skill set, and certainly they administer this program throughout the county. And in meeting with them, they were interested in working with us. The essence of the agreement is that they would receive $10,000 in compensation for their portion of the work, which is, I think, in many ways working with the applicants, setting the scope of work, handling the pay request. It'll still be a city program, but at the same time, they will handle a lot of the detail work associated with it. I know up until this afternoon, city attorney and staff were still working on the details of the agreement, so I would ask that council approve entering into the agreement subject to the city attorney's final review and approval of the agreement.
Very well. I don't know if there's any, Stephanie Kazarczak's here from MCOP. I don't know if there's any additional, or not, we'll just move forward.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to approve the contract for services with MCOP for the fixed program in an amount not to exceed $10,000.
And subject to the city attorney's final review, correct? Is that what, I think that's what he asked for. Yeah. Okay, there's a motion by Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilwoman Whitman on 2333, the MCOP contract for services. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining?
Yes.
Germaine?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Igwangeli?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is the consent agenda, and for item B, approval of payments, the amount should read $2,672.85, 2,000,672.85.
Are there any items on the consent agenda that council wishes to have pulled for further discussion?
Your Honor,
Councilman
I'd like to have
Felder.
item 2329 pulled.
Very well. Other items from council members wish to be pulled for further discussion? Seeing none, is there any items on the consent agenda those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion? Any items to be pulled from those present here this evening? Seeing none, a motion will be in order.
Your Honor, I motion that all items not pulled from the consent agenda for further discussion be accepted, placed on file, and the recommendations carried out. And any resolutions, I don't see any, be adopted.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilman Michelangelo. The items not pulled for further discussion from the consent agenda be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and any resolutions adopted. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining?
Yes.
Germaine?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Igwangeli?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is item 2329, North Custer Road Resurfacing Bid Award.
Thank you. Councilman Felder.
Yes, I know that we've discussed this issue at length previously. I know that Director Lewis has brought the final construction specifications before council and were included in the packet. I just wanted to inquire upon the safety crossing equipment that we planned on installing at this particular site. I know that we had discussed that in the past, but I don't think that we came to any specific, well, yeah, floor is yours.
Honorable Mayor and Council, Patrick Lewis, Director of Engineering and Public Services.
regarding the specific, I know we were talking about some potential flashing things with either solar power or electronic. We have not yet on those items. We have bid this with our standard package with all the enhancements that would be part of your conventional bid package, but we are not quite yet ready to say we've got something that will be a flashing warning or something of that nature. We've been focusing more on pushing the projects and contracts out to bids, and that was not something that would typically be installed by one of our contractors. We probably retrofit that in ourselves, but we will continue to come up with something on that for presentation. I can tell you the enhancements that we have come up with, I think has been well documented the last couple of go-arounds here with council, and that is the raised intersections at Cranbrook and at Richards, about 8 inches. Going from 3 lanes to 2 with on-street bike lanes, that works just fine. We've got a variety of pavement markings. They're going to go along with that. And we've got the pedestrian crossing markings. We've got the strong yellow-green signs. We've got even the yield arrows as you approach the crosswalks there. So we're gonna mark this thing pretty well, but we don't yet have an answer on the on any type of, I don't want to say flashing lights, but there are some options out there. We just, again, my department's been focused on getting the big contracts out for bids in a timely fashion, and we can continue to work around the edges here as they get fully implemented.
Yeah.
So, Councilman, may not be the answer you're looking for, but
I mean, seeing as the vote that we are taking tonight, and that what is on the agenda is a removal of certain safety specifications, I just want to make sure that the replacement of those safety specifications are acceptable and up to snuff before approving this, and we'll deal with the rest of it later. You understand my concern. There have been certain inquiries from the community about the safety as to this project, as to their opposition to it. The rest of the city certainly has to drive on North Custer, but the citizens of the 6th Precinct have to walk along these roads, and they have to cross here. It certainly makes it a difficult situation, and I understand that it might not be entirely germane to the contracts that you're bidding out for this particular project, and I understand that. But thank you for the update. I do appreciate it.
I will continue to pursue those options as we've discussed and report back when I have something more concrete for you.
Thank you, Director.
Anything else?
Regarding this item, I'll give Councilman Felder any follow-up too. No other comments? Councilman, anything further?
Your Honor, I'll make a comment that I was happy that the project cost came in under engineer's estimate, which in today's bidding environment is a rarity. So I thought that's very nice for a change. I'll make a motion, Your Honor, that we accept the contract to award the contract to Gherkin Paving in the amount of $689,132.83 with a 10% project contingency, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the necessary documents on behalf of the city of Monroe.
There's a motion by Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilwoman Germaini, on item 2329, the North Custer Road resurfacing bid award be accepted as stated. I just have one final comment, if there's others that have. I do appreciate the items that were included that we have an understanding, as Mr. Lewis talked about, that we talked about in work sessions multiple times, you know, the raised walkways, the markings and that. I believe that if we moving forward, to retrofit any type of flashing signs, and those are obviously some additional input that may come from residents, but might be from all residents. I think that many do walk and cross into the neighborhoods and through as well. But that said, we want to make sure that it is safe. It is have all the markings that are possible, as well as those that were mentioned by Mr. Lewis already. So I appreciate that part being up to date. There's a motion and a second. Or any further comments from council? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Vining? Yes. Germaini?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Yes. Icoangeli?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Clerk, next item, please.
I have no further items, Your Honor.
So, council comments here this evening. It is March. Councilwoman Vining for the third month. Okay, Councilwoman Germaini.
Well, tomorrow and Wednesday morning at the Monroe Sports Center is the Special Olympics tournament, bowling tournament. It starts at 11:30 a.m., so if nobody has something to do, then they can go out there and cheer these people on.
What time is that again, please?
11:30 in the morning.
Thank you.
At Monroe Sports Center, tomorrow and Wednesday morning.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Felder.
Thank you, Your Honor. I know that I did have some certain reluctance regarding the North Custer project on certain aspects of it. I hope that the project more broadly will help improve the street and eliminate some of the traffic issues that we faced in the past. I hope that overall that the project works out. I know that there was very little support on certain opinions of mine that I had on the project with the rest of council. I hope that moving forward I can be part of the solution, and I hope that we've accomplished that tonight. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Councilwoman Whitman.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Councilman Michelangeli.
Yes, Your Honor, thanks. Just a topic for a future workshop for the city manager is I'd like to take a deeper dive into the city's housing quality. I'm a long-term resident of the community, and I have to say that the housing stock on the south side of the river, both east and west, in my opinion, is significantly deteriorating at a pace that alarms me. And I think it's a combination of the fact that our rental inspection program, we only inspect properties every 3 years, and they can deteriorate extremely quickly. So I want to see that maybe we need to have a rental inspection program that's on an annual basis. And the other part is I think we need to start taking a look at targeted code enforcement in terms of people following the existing building maintenance code. Over the last 6 months, I have turned in a number of requests through the city's online application. I have seen houses with broken windows, with fences in disrepair, steps that are coming off of porches, junk vehicles in backyards. There's actually a house that has a odd house as a decorative lawn ornament in its front yard. And frankly, folks, this is not the city of Monroe that I knew when I was growing up. And I know that demographics are changing in the community, but there is a certain responsibility of home ownership. I don't care if you're a landlord or an owner. Your responsibility is to maintain the property according to the current standards. I don't want to point any fingers. I don't want to say that we're doing a bad job, but I think the deterioration of the housing quality far exceeds the amount of resources that we're committing as a city. So I'm asking, prior to the workshop, I'm asking the city council, sometime when you have an extra 15 minutes or a half an hour, get in your car, drive the south side of the river from east to west. Drive it slowly, take a look at the neighborhoods, and get a visual picture of what's going on. Because if we lose our neighborhoods, we're going to lose our downtown. We lose our downtown, we're going to lose our community. It's nothing different than the restoration of the River Raisin. We noted a problem 10, 15, 20 years ago, and it's been a concerted effort, and we saw the results of it this evening. We have to take the same approach with our housing stock. So I'm kind of setting a little bit of an alarm here that I think we really, really need to take a deeper dive in it. And I wanted to give the city administration some time to come back with some possible information, data, and maybe some solutions. That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. We had a work session here this evening, and I thought it was very informative. The discussion that was presented and from, my mind slips the presentation on the Michigan Land Bank. And I think about that opportunity that it presents, those that may not have maybe watched the earlier work session or those that are here, I'd recommend to go back and take the opportunity because that is also an impact to be able to watch again, gives you an idea of some of the potentials that are available as a tool here to the city. And I think Councilman Michelangeli kind of talks a little bit to what you're saying as well when we talk about these are some vacant parcels, but at the same time we have parcels that are in need of repair. And interesting because it's kind of just a general comment on my notes tonight. It was not in depth as the councilman, but the ideas of opportunities that we should be taking that we've talked about, whether the inspections and revisiting that. It was something we've approved a while ago on a neighborhood enterprise zone opportunity. I think that exists there for those two zones that currently exist within the city and how we move forward. But I think it is a collective view with not just how we report, I should say not how we respond to the reporting, but how we report as well. And I think we all have that responsibility, whether it's the council, the employees, the residents, and using the city's site to report things that are of blight nature. It's not going to get resolved on its own, and it takes all of us to do just what the councilman was referring to. One thing I'd like to see is I think about all of our departments, I think, can have a role in that, not just the department that's designated to respond to it. And I know that we have many employees that will see something, either record it or take action or report that to the appropriate place for follow-up. But I think we can be a little more active with that as well. In the last week, I was at a program with the SEMCOG, and it was just interesting to listening to a community here a few years ago. It was East Point. And in the past 8-10 years, just as many communities have, trying to rebound back from the economic downturn, and what they had to do was some of the same items that are being discussed here tonight. And it took a concerted effort by all, but also to follow up on it. So I look forward to that. I want to congratulate the Commission on the Environment, Cody, for the not just the presentation and the information that was presented, but all those that participated in the video, whether they were speaking or whether they were canoeing or helping, showing how they were cleaning up the river. I thought it was wonderful, even those that were in there fishing as well. But I think that what that says is the Commission on the Environment and the work they've done over the years is commendable. And I look forward to seeing what next comes from the commission, because I think it is a great resource that we have, and how do we capitalize on that resource is critical in our planning as well. And we couldn't do it if it wasn't for those boards and commissions that serve. Last thing I have, and as before I move forward, just to follow up by going back through the city manager gives us an update on topics. Last meeting I mentioned a couple just for a quick update. And then, as the council knows, and I think many in the community know, our public safety assessment is moving forward. Not a lot of details, but just kind of where it's at currently, Mr. Pastu, and maybe the timelines that we're looking at in our discussion, so council has that on their calendars.
Well, obviously, the first two phases of interviews have been concluded. Initially, it was city council members with public safety, or with fire and police, the chiefs and command staff, and this second round of interviews were focused more at the line level. We changed it up a little bit. Initially, we were looking at one-on-ones. I think with the fire, we ended up doing two at a time, and I think groups of 4, maybe 5 with PSOs when they were in here a couple weeks ago. There, at this point in time, the effort is directed toward data collection, getting information. I know both the police, fire have provided data, and they're also downloading and organizing what they're receiving from central dispatch. And so at this point, it's kind of in their in the consultants realm, Fitch and Associates, to start doing the analytical work associated with it. I haven't heard back what challenges they have with it, but I'm still thinking sometime toward the end of April, maybe beginning of May, they may be interested in coming back and having a pretty important meeting with the city council about what those findings are. So.
Thank you. I think that helps with our timeline as well, and it's because we have the Fitch and Associates come in, they kind of depart, they come back, and it's just because they're not here doesn't mean they're not working on our important project and how that's going forward. So thank you, Mr. Pastu. Clerk Treasurer Lavoie, comments?
I just have two comments. One, just a reminder that We are no longer collecting property tax at the treasurer's office. We're closing the books, and we'll be forwarding those to the county treasurer for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to pay your taxes yet. You will be able to do that at the county, but it'll be several weeks, and we'll let everyone know when that happens. And then I know we have a closed session to get to, but I too wanted to comment on that video. I had the opportunity to see bits and pieces of it this afternoon, so I was really struck at how it touched me when I saw it in my entirety. So I too want to congratulate everyone who was involved with it. This video and the video that we had presented to us last year just about the city of Monroe in general, what strikes me about all of those is it's just a really great opportunity to take a step back and put a different lens on, so that, you know, after the hustle and bustle and the challenges we face here in the city of Monroe, when you see those shots panning the river, and you see our natural resources, and you see people enjoying the river, yes, it's a snapshot in time, and yes, it's idyllic, but it's also the spirit of who we are as a community. And so I know personally when my belief maybe flags a little bit, I go back to that video and I play it on the computer, and it just kind of reframes things and says, yeah, you know what, everything, the struggles are all worth it, because we have a really great community here, and we have a lot of people that pull together when we really need to, and I'm proud to be part of it. And I thank everyone for the opportunity to be sitting here tonight to share my thoughts with you, and I'm just going to keep working hard, because like the rest of you, because it's worth it. It's worth it. So thanks for the opportunity, and it'll be a great foot forward, not just, you know, for us, but to show around the state and everything. So I'm excited that there is going to be a network that's going to have the opportunity to see it. So that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Pastu?
If I may just echo the clerk's, treasurer's comments as well. It was pretty inspiring when I first saw it, and certainly appreciate all of the work that has went into it with the Commission on the Environment, and it was, I thought the production was very, very well done, and it really, I did a wonderful job of showcasing what a beautiful river that we have here in our community, and the hard work that it took, you know, locally as well as with the Office on the Great Lakes partnering. It's a pretty remarkable piece, and certainly appreciate everything that everyone's been involved with. It really speaks well of our community in many ways.
Thank you. This time, are there any comments from those present here this evening? Public comments? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Your Honor. Richard Micka, 47 East Elm. I just want to commend Mr. Egan and the production company for doing a wonderful job on the River Raisin. It was a long time coming and certainly worthwhile. Last week at this time I was in Washington, D.C. I was to testify as a public witness before the House Interior, Environment, and Related Agencies Subcommittee for Appropriations, asking for money to finish up the job here in southeast Michigan. It was quite an experience. And I can just tell them that we've already spent $2.5 billion cleaning up the Great Lakes. And here in Monroe, on the River Raisin, we spent $150 million, half of which was provided by the Ford Motor Company. So we owe them a great hand of thanks, that was for sure. I can remember back with 37 years ago with the Clean Water Act, Congressman Dingell did us a lot of good. And we're sorry to lose him now, and we've commemorated him, and we talked about that at the subcommittee meeting in Washington. It was quite remarkable. And then the remedial action plan has been around for 32 years. In the last 26 years, the Public Advisory Council here in the city of Monroe and the statewide Public Advisory Council have been able to gather funds for the cleanup of the River Raisin. So I think the people in Washington were very, very much impressed with what we've done here, and now they're looking forward to doing the rest of the job. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Yeah. Thank you very much, and thank you again, Mr. Egan. It was a great job. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Micka.
Thank you.
Other comments from those present here this evening? Any additional comments from the public that's present? Seeing none, a motion would be in order as we move forward.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session for the purpose of land acquisition.
Councilman Nicolangi, supported by Councilman Felder, to go into closed executive session for land acquisition. Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Ike Langely?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.